Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, and welcome back to another episode of Road to 1000 DuelingBook Rating. This time I'm going to be on a rather unique deck for this series, as well as just in general, and that's going to be Eldlich DD Rokket, I guess you can call it. Although DD and Rokket are just very small engines in this Eldlich deck to kind of facilitate more aggressive game plans. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting deck. That is new to the series, and I do realize I haven't uploaded to this series in a little while. Not that the series is on the back burner or anything, but I have prioritized other content just for the time being due to like the LCS and stuff. But rest assured, I'll be uploading more videos as I am currently with this one. But yeah, going back to the deck, just kind of talking about it and sort of the context for it. It's something that I've enjoyed playing for the last couple of days here, and it's just a nice change from like a lot of the like very heavy like combo oriented decks I've been playing. It's kind of like a mixture of both combo and like control elements, because obviously it's Eldlich stuff. But yeah, if you guys have seen the 3v3 LCS top cut deck lists floating around on various channels, you probably have seen the Eldlich lists by now. And I did take quite a lot of inspiration from those builds, although I did make some modifications of my own. But I really do like the fact that basically you can play the synchro kind of combos with Dragoon and stuff to kind of like just facilitate the Eldlich engine, because obviously the problem with Eldlich right now, at least just pure, is that it's very slow. So you need ways to finish the game as fast as possible. And if you guys were paying attention or have noticed, I guess, paying attention was kind of a bad choice of words there, but I'm kind of rambling here anyways, so whatever. If you guys have seen some of the lists prior to the 6th LCS, people were experimenting with Rokket, Eldlich, Dogmatica. And that was a deck that I was really enjoying, and I was heavily considering actually playing it for the 3v3, but the problem I was having was that your main form of disruption in the form of the Dogmatica stuff was a punishment, and punishment would hinder you from making more aggressive pushes on the following turn with like fiber and stuff. And I really did not like that, because any turn that you are unable to kill your opponent has an extra turn to just kill you right back. So I was really gravitating kind of away from that after I was struggling to close out certain games where like I had the disruptions, but I didn't really have the means to actually end the game the way that I wanted to. Because of course the idea with Rockets in this deck, if you guys aren't familiar, is that Quick Launch is a one card way to get to Chaos Ruler, which is the level 8 synchro from Rise of the Duelist or Toon Chaos. I can't remember which set, but it came out a little while ago. And basically that card can activate 5, and you add a lighter deck monster to your hand, and then you mill the rest of the cards to the grave. So you ideally mill Eldlich cards and then add something of value to your hand, which is either Hand Trap, or in the Dogmatica build it was Ecclesia. But in the Synchro build you can actually add your Synchro stuff. You can add Kepler, which actually the top cut LCS list wasn't playing Kepler, but I'm choosing to add or have Kepler in the list because it's nice to be able to just have that as like a way to kind of have follow up, right? But yeah, I really do like this deck. It's a lot of fun. I'm kind of rambling here, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started. As usual, I'll have like a kind of a timestamp as to when I stop just yapping. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. We win the RPS here, and we're up against DragonLink. I never actually mentioned that, but we're against DragonLink today in this video. So yeah, it's very important that we win the RPS here, because it's very nice to not have to worry about getting comboed. We go first, and our opening hand is very nice here. We have both parts of our engine being the contract as well as quick launch. We have the best parts of our Eldlich engine, and we have DD Crow, which is like a low impact hand trap, but it's a nice hand trap here. And this is like another change that I made. I'm sure you guys have seen the list, but the LCS list didn't play Crow, in the main deck at least, but I decided to just have more hand traps here because I like playing a lot of hand traps. And then my opponent has double Gamma, Phalanx, Reborn 1-for-1, so it's not a very strong hand, but it does have Gamma. However, this nice thing about this deck is that you actually have a lot of backup lines if you do get stopped. So I can start off with Contract to add Lamia, and then we're going to normal summon the Lamia, go into the Link Rebo, and then use Lamia to send the Contract to summon itself, and then go for a Halkifivax play, which is of course going to be met with a Gamma. Now the thing here is that we have Quick Launch as follow-up, which is really cool. So we are able to kind of have some contingency plays, and I do things in possibly a questionable way here, but kind of like thinking about it, it's kind of a toss-up, so I'll kind of explain what I mean. So I go for Striker Dragon after summoning Tracer off of the Quick Launch, and then Striker is going to add myself a copy of Boot Sector Launch. Now what I could do here is, because my opponent controls more monsters than me, I could actually just straight up Boot Sector Launch the Tracer from Grave, and I can go Tracer pop Boot Sector to grab Recharger, and then go for a Chaos Ruler to try and get more Eldlich cards or more hand traps, just things in the circulation in general, and then go for Verite Anaconda. The problem with that play is, of course, if you do happen to mill your Dragoon pieces, then going to Verite Anaconda doesn't actually do anything. And there is a realistically pretty high chance, because right now I have 37 cards in deck, and you guys know from the hypergeometric calculator stuff, well, I will have 36 actually, so the numbers go up even more. But like, if you are like opening, if you have ever run the numbers on like the odds of opening a 3 of in a 40 card list in your opening 5 card hand, you'll know that like that odds are about like 33%. So you can think of it like that, because we're milling 5, so it's like the equivalent to drawing 5 in that case. So like the chances of hitting one of those 3, which is like a 3 of, right, either the Fusion, the Red Eyes, or the Dark Magician, that's like kind of the pseudo 3 of. If you understand what I'm saying, I'm kind of explaining this a little bit poorly, but basically there's over a 33% chance for me at this point to mill one of the Dragoon components, so it's definitely not a trivial chance to happen. So what I do instead is I go for Striker to add Tracer back, and then just go Boot Sector to summon Tracer. Now, to be fair, even though I didn't want to go for the Chaos Ruler in particular, it still would have been correct to just summon from Grave, because I just lost out on a free link material this way. It's definitely a mistake on my end here, but not too big of an issue. The biggest thing is that like it won't add an extra resource to my hand via the Chaos Ruler, so I can like have another discard outlet for Dragoon, because right now I want to have the Eldlich cards set because I have Conquistador live, but I also want to have Crow. But I mean, it's like the best card to discard because it's the weakest hand trap if I'm against combo. But like, this is something I might want to have against Dino, so it's like it's kind of risky either way, you know. But regardless, we're just gonna go ahead and make Anaconda. After all that's said and done, none of those mathematical things happened. So we're just gonna go ahead and summon Dragoon here. I said go ahead twice there. I'm sorry. It's 1:30 in the morning. I don't know why I'm recording. We're gonna go ahead and summon our Dragoon here, and then I pop Gamma. I don't know why I keep doing this. I should just not be greedy for the damage, because like I'm obviously not gonna pop Driver here. That's bad. Like really obviously bad. But like. I got punished in an earlier Road to 1000 DuelingBook rating episode for popping a Gamma because my opponent had double evolution pill, and this ended up being the only non-dino to banish for it. So it's like, I should have just learned from my mistakes, but apparently I just don't learn my lesson and want that 3000 damage. But luckily it's not dino, so that's largely not going to come up that much. It could be a level 2 tuner to bring back off of metal, but I mean, he has Phalanx in hand anyway. Speaking of which, he drew Recharger, which is like not a very strong draw. So when he normal summons Phalanx, that's a pretty telltale sign that his hand is rather weak. So he's going to go ahead and make a copy of Striker Dragon of his own, and then go for a Boot Sector launch. And then here, once he goes to activate 1-for-1, I'm like, alright, well, he normal summoned Phalanx, right? So his hand can't be that good, because he has 2 other cards. I know one of the 3 is Boot Sector, so he has 2 others that are unknown to me. So if I can Conquistador one of like the big choke points, then he'll be basically on 1 card to try and completely build a board, which, judging by the way his hand is looking, is not going to be that reliable on his end. So I decided to just negate straight up with Dragoon here. And he's going to follow up with he's going to follow up with a Boot Sector launch to go for Recharger from his hand. And here's where I'm like, alright, he's not summoning Tracer. That's like really unfortunate. He drew quite poorly into a lot of the cards he didn't really want to draw. And he's going to go for Romulus and then add a copy of Divine Lance to his hand. And this is a little questionable. I do opt to go for Conquistador. You can make the argument that, like, why would you do that? Because you see the Phalanx engrave. So it's unlikely he's running 2. So it's like total Divine Lance play is kind of dead here, which is fair, but like again, I'm putting him on 1 card to try and make it all happen. If that card is Quick Launch, which is probably the best card at this point for him, then like he can make a Savage and like try and clear parts of my board, but Dragoon's on 4k, so he can't out it because the biggest it can be is 36 at this point. So I'm feeling relatively confident that this will still be enough, even though the Divine Lance really wasn't achieving anything, as was the Romulus. But I would really just rather not him go into like Link Cross and then like summon back like a Phalanx. Because like, he could have done that if you like summoned something with Reborn. And then like maybe could have gone like Metal into Fiber and like try and finagle a play from there. It would have been tough, but not necessarily unfeasible. So I think this was like still an okay play actually at the end of the day. Possibly questionable, but I still think it was fine. But because of that, my opponent decides to actually just admit defeat because Reborn wasn't going to get him there. I had a lot of really, really strong follow-up plays. The cool thing about this is that it didn't come up in this game because my Fiber got negated by Gamma, but I'm actually playing Plague Spreader, and the combo doesn't actually require you to use Plague Spreader's Grave Effect. So if you get Nibiru, you can use it, or if you your board gets broken, you can use it for follow-up plays, which I really, really do enjoy having. But anyways, moving on to game number 2. My opponent is going to, of course, decide to go first, and his hand's very strong. He has Quick Launch, Tracer, Reborn, Synchron, and Brotar. So he's able to combo through multiple hand traps. He has some of the like better extenders in this deck. He drew Reborn over World Legacy Guard Dragon both games, but it's still like one of the better recovery tools. And he has Brotar to play through Gamma if I did happen to have it. Whereas our hand has Ash Veiler, which are very weak hand traps, to be honest, especially against this particular hand. Low impact, and even though I drew 2 of them, it's not going to be enough to stop him in this case. We do have access to our Eldlich package, kind of, and we drew Quick Launch, but unfortunately we drew Tracer, which is sort of bricky. Like, it's better to draw than Recharger, absolutely, but it's not the card you want to be normal summoning, because the whole point is like Quick Launch doesn't commit to your normal summon, so you can like go Chaos Ruler, and then like if you add a Kepler, you can normal it and then go for, you know, Anaconda plays and stuff. But like if you have to normal Tracer, then it limits your options, because once you have Chaos Ruler, it's hard to get an extender that actually is going to meaningfully get you there, if that makes sense. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and let him start, or he's gonna start. We're not letting him start, but he's choosing to. Gonna go ahead and activate the Quick Launch to grab Tracer from deck, and then summon a Striker to add Boot Sector, and then he's going to use his normal summon on Brotar, and then go for a Romulus, and I choose to Veiler it. I don't have any intel on his hand, but I'm just gotta go off of what's categorically the best, given the unknown circumstances. He's gonna go ahead and use Boot and then summon 2 from hand. And here I'm like, okay, if he goes Fiber, I can like Ash, and maybe that'll like stop him a bit. But he actually does a relatively smart play given the way his hand shook out. He actually just skipped Fiber altogether and went for LP right away. And I thought, okay, this is probably a good time to Ash, because he's clearly not going to Fiber at this point, and I thought it was out of the woods, but he shows the Reborn, and I'm like, I see. So he's going to be able to play through this no matter what. So yeah, he's going to bring back Tracer, go for Pissy, and then the Striker can go ahead and pop itself, adding back one of the Tracers. He had 2s to start, well, 1 plus Quick Launch, so basically 2. So he can still Pissy back the other copy of Tracer. You can go into Delindrus, and then go into a copy of Seal, and then he's going to use Tracer to pop the Boot to summon a copy of Recharger. He doesn't trigger Delindrus here because there's not really a point to, since he has no real way to get into Union Carrier from this position. He did normal summon the Brotar after all. So he's going to just use Savage, of course, to put the 2 counters on it, and I am stuck in a pretty hard position here, and drawing a second copy of Scarlet is not going to help in this case. So I have a couple of options here. So because I drew Tracer, it kind of works out a little bit as far as me trying to like see what he's going to negate, I suppose, or how he's going to try and interrupt me. So here's Quick Launch, and then I grab a Recharger, of course, because I'm only playing 1-on-1, and then I go for Striker. Now my thought process is, if I am able to get Sector, I can Sector summon back the Recharger and then normal Tracer, and then this gives me the ability to like go for Verte, go for Fiber, go for Chaos Ruler, go for just a bunch of different plays. But my opponent does a very smart thing, and he never put counters on his Savage. I should have asked him to, because you actually have to. They are counters, but we can just manually keep track, right? So he's going to use one of his negations here. And I'm thinking, okay, let's just go to battle phase. Like, it was very smart to negate the Striker, because in this deck, like, it's a very compact Rokket engine, and Boot Sector is kind of like the centerpiece to it. And because this recharge is engraved, there's no way for me to access a Synchro 8 this turn because, Tracer just can't use its effect, plain and simple. And without Boot Sector to grab back the Recharger, there's no way of me actually making a meaningful play. Like, sure, I could have normal summoned Tracer, but that, like, would have found negation, or bounce, rather, either way, I feel. So I don't think it would have made a difference if I, like, tried to normal summon and, like, go for Fiber. So he's going to use Spheres. Excuse me, I got kind of a little bit of air in my throat there. He's going to use Spheres to grab Black Metal Dragon here. And then main phase 2, I'm just going to go ahead and set the double Scarlet. My goal here is to live, so there's definitely a case to be made that I should have set Tracer. But I'm also thinking, like, if in the off chance that I am able to live, and he, like, doesn't use his negation on a Scarlet, then I could use this to help me push next turn for either, again, a Fiber or, like, a way to get to Boot Sector, because now that my Striker's back in my extra deck, I can go for that play again and grab back Recharger possibly, which is cool. So yeah, play passes back to my opponent who draws a Divine Lance, very, very dead at this point. And I know that the Tracer's in hand because he added it back off the Striker, so I'm like, okay, he can, like, go make Fiber because he hasn't committed to it yet. He can grab Red MD, and then, like, how far can he get from there, really? So that was just kind of the big question, like, how far can he get from this play? And possibly another extender, although now we know, just from full knowledge, that he does not have an extender. So he's going to go ahead and make Fiber. Fiber and Black Metal both trigger. So he's going to grab Red MD as well as summoning a Red Rose from deck. And then he goes and converts his Fiber into a Link Cross. And it's here that's very evident that he's going to go for Herald. Notably, he summons 2 tokens, which shouldn't matter, but because of the way he does his play, it does matter. Which I'll kind of explain. So I decided to flip up the Scarlet here, trying to possibly bait, or not bait him, but, like, to sort of play a mind game, I guess, for lack of a better word, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe he won't negate this if he's thinking that I'm bluffing for a better card, right? Like, I'm trying to get him to think that I want him to negate this, and then he'll consequently be like, nah, I won't negate that. That's, like, a big kind of, like, back and forth there. But, like, I'm trying to convince him that this is a card that he should let go by sending a message to him that, like, oh, I'm bluffing a better, like, hand trap, like maybe into Biru, maybe, like, I don't know, a backer that could actually be impactful. And because of this, I actually successfully get him to let this resolve, which is big because this is a big body that he's going to have trouble, getting over, even with Borosaur, which he could do, but he actually ends up messing up game, which I'll kind of talk about. So he goes for Herald, and then he goes for Red Rose to summon White Rose. Now, here what he should be doing is you could, like, banish the White Rose for Red MD, bring back a Link 2 Dragon, like any of them, and then go for Sword with those cards. And then, like, he could even leave the Herald up because you'll see that he misses game by very, very little, and the Herald would have actually been enough to get game there. But what he does instead is he links away for Protector. I think he just didn't really realize that, like, oh, he didn't have other dragons to banish for Red MD. But he still could have made this work. This is where the token came up. If he didn't have that token there, he could have used the Red MD to bring back Tracer and then trigger Delindrus and then go into Sword that way and keep the Herald on board. So there's multiple ways he could have done it, but he kind of messed himself up. And that's kind of what you sometimes can rely on if you are in situations like this. Your opponent could make mistakes. So he's forced to link away his own Herald, which is less important due to the disruption, at least for this current turn, and more important for the fact that he's actually not able to kill me. So he's going to go ahead and beat over Lord and grab the attack boost, and then attack me for 36 with a Savage, and then attack for 40 to 50, which, as you'll notice, leaves me on a cool 150. So if he had Herald on board with either of the lines that I described, either of those 2 options, then he would have killed me. But unfortunately for him, it did not work out that way. And I'm actually still in it. Now, this is actually really good because he linked away off another disruption. So now instead of playing through 2 disruptions, I only have to play through 1, which is, a world of a difference when I only have 2 cards and drawing for turn. And of course I draw Nibiru, which is dead, but I'm actually not too upset by that because, again, I have access to, like, the Boot Sector play still because I have Striker back in my extra deck because it was bounced. So I have a lot of ways to try and maybe force. So the biggest thing that I have to do now in terms of like trying to bluff is hope that my opponent doesn't consider that Lord Graveyard effect actually doesn't matter, because he can just sword switch it to defense and protect his savage. So what I'm going to do here is try and like get him to believe that this is a card that's very important for him to negate right now. And he actually does end up using his final savage or Boral counter from his savage to negate the Lord Graveyard effect. So because of this, I'm like, all right, cool. It wasn't actually going to be able to kill the savage if he had just switched it to defense anyways. And so now my real play goes through, which is the Tracer. So we can normal Tracer, go into Striker, and because, I didn't grab Boot last time because it was negated, we can grab Boot this time. And learning from game 1, or even though it wasn't like necessarily like an objective mistake, but like learning from things that I could be doing in this kind of spot, let's go ahead and use the Soul Charge effect of Boot Sector Launch this time to grab 2 monsters. And then from here, I can do basically whatever I want, because provided that his card in hand is not a hand trap, which it could be because it was an unknown that he didn't use or commit to the board, I can still go like Fiber. I can go for like a Chaos Ruler play. I can go for a lot of different things. And I will end up deciding to go for Fiber, but he does scoop before I can actually commit to the play, because he realizes that he did mess up with missing lethal, as well as probably just negating the wrong card, honestly, for this turn. But yeah, that's kind of just a bit of a preview for what this deck is. Not preview, but like just kind of a showcase of what this deck is able to do. And I really do like it. It's just a nice change of pace from all of the common decks I've been playing. I like the ability to be very flexible. Again, the biggest downside to this deck is that it's just bricky. Like, you have a lot of cards you don't really like to draw, like Recharger and Boot Sector. You don't really want to draw Tracer all the time. It's not horrible, but like it's not one of the better cards. You don't want to draw too much of your Eldlich stuff. You don't want to draw, definitely don't want to draw the Dragoon package. There are a lot of cards that are just kind of not great to draw, like Lamia as well. But I mean, it still is like all those cards are still fairly workable in various circumstances. So it's not like the worst, case of bricking. Like, you're not playing a lot of hard garnets. The only real hard garnet is Red Ice Fusion still. But I did mention again, I'm playing Plague Spreader, so it kind of mitigates that issue. But I like the fact that this deck has a lot of options available to it. It can kind of switch tempo or resource management based on how your opponent is playing, or like what the matchup is, or just like what the overall game state is. I really do enjoy this deck, and you probably will be seeing me playing a lot of this on a ladder for this Road to 1000 DuelingBook rating series in the future. So let me know if you guys would like to see more of that, or if you guys want to see other decks, just let me know. As always, feedback is welcome. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links in the description as always. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys. And I'm talking so fast for it being like almost 2 in the morning. Like, my God, I just need to go to bed. I'm gonna go to bed. See you guys.